Okay, we're going to go over our study guide for the congruent triangles test, and I'm going to do this really fast. So if there is any part of this that you don't understand, I want you to go back and watch the video or review the notes. So first topic, classifying triangles. So this is when we classified triangles by angles, and we also did it by sides. So if you look at triangle ABE, that's this one, you could call that a right triangle because of the right angle. And you can also call it scaling because it has 3 different sides. Alright, for BEC, that is an acute triangle because they're all under 90 degrees. And then you could also call it isosceles because 2 sides are the same. For DEF, that is an equal angular because if all the sides are equal, then all the angles are equal. And then because all the sides are equal, we can call it equilateral as well. And then for the last one, for CDF, we can call that one an obtuse angle because that one angle is definitely bigger than 90 degrees. And then we could also call it a scaling because none of the sides are congruent. For number 2, you could just graph that on some graph paper. And you don't need fancy graph paper. You can just graph it on your own, make you a little graph paper. Alright, and you could even, you could check like the slope. So this side and this side are actually congruent. And so that's going to be an isosceles triangle. Alright, let's move on. Alright, so topic 2, we talked about angles of triangles. Alright, so angles, remember triangles have to equal 180 degrees. So, if I'm looking at angle 1, 88 and angle 1 have to add to give me 180. So angle 1 has to be 92. Okay, next thing I notice is I got some parallel lines being cut by transversal. So let's see, angle 3 and angle 64 are corresponding, so that's got to be 64 degrees. Angle 2 has to add to 92 and 64 to get 180, so it has to be 24 degrees. Angle 2, no, let's see, let's do angle 4 next. So angle 4 has to add to 81 and 64 to get 180. So angle 4 has to be 35 to make that work. And then if I'm looking at angle 5, 35 plus 64 plus angle 5 has to be 180. So it has to be angle 81 degrees. Okay. For number 4, kind of the same deal. So 115 and 4 are vertical, so that's got to be 115. Angle 2 and 115 are making a straight line, so they have to equal 180, so it's got to be 35. If I want to find angle 1, 1 plus 80 plus 35 has to give me 180, so angle 1 is going to have to be 35. Oh, we just did that. Sorry, angle 2, what am I talking about? Sorry. Angle 2 is 65, and this one's 35. Angle 2 and angle 5 are vertical, so they have to equal, so I know this one's automatically 65. If you'll notice, if I'm looking at angle 6, let's see, what do you want to do? Okay, this one's kind of hard to see, so let me draw it. See how you have this big triangle right here? So angle 3, 61, and 90 have to add to give you 180. So angle 3 has to be 29. Alright, and then I can figure out angle 6, because 29 plus 115 plus angle 6 has to give me 180, so it has to be 36. Angle 6 and angle 7 have to add to give me 180. So if angle 6 is 36, then 7 has to be 144. And you could do that a totally different way than I did and still get the same answer. Alright, let's look at number 5. So we know that triangles have to add to give us 180. So if I take all three of these angles and add them together and set them equal to 180, I can figure out what x equals. So I'm going to get all my like terms together. Alright, and then I'm going to add 41 to both sides. And then I'm going to divide by 17, so I get x is equal to 13. Alright, this next one, you can do a couple of different ways. I know that these two angles, when I add them together, it has to equal the angle on the outside, because mathematically that's how that works. So I'm going to set it up like this. So the angle on the outside equals the two opposite angles added together. So I'm going to get my like terms together. Alright, I'm going to get my x's to one side and my numbers to the other side. And then I would divide by 4 on both sides, so x equals 18. Alright, kind of the same concept for 7 and 8. Well, it's pretty much exactly the same. It's just like 5 and 6. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to let you set this one up and pause the video and try it. So try number 7 and number 8. 1, 2, 3. Alright, so the first one, you set it up just like number 5. You add them all together and equal 180. The only difference is you have to plug x back in to get 116. And then 8 is just like number 6. The two inner angles added together equal the outer angle. We get x is equal to 15, plug that back in, and get angle A is equal to 48. Alright, so then let's review our isosceles and equilateral triangles. So, if number 9, you know that's isosceles because it's got the tick marks, then you know this base angle has to be 74 also. And then all triangles have to equal 180, so 180 minus 74 is 32. If I look at number 10, I know these two sides are equal, which means these two angles are equal. Alright, so if I do 180 minus 106, and then I divide that by 2, both those angles have to equal 37. Alright, if I look at number 11, these two angles are equal, which means these two sides equal, so AC has to be 9. And then angle A has to be whatever 180 minus 48 is. So in order to get it to equal 180, it has to be 84. Number 12, super easy. Anytime you have an equilateral triangle, all of the angles are going to be 60. Alright, let's look at some harder ones. Not too bad. So I know that these two base angles have to add to give me, they're equal to each other. The other thing I know is 180 minus 34 is 146, and if those two angles are equal, 146 divided by 2 is 73. So each of these are 73. So if I take 8x minus 23 and set it equal to 73, add the 23 over, divide both sides by 8, I get x is equal to 12. Alright, number 14, I know if it is equilateral like this, then each angle equals 60. So I'm just going to take that expression and set it equal to 60. I'm going to add 3 to both sides, and then I'm going to divide both sides by 9. I get x is equal to 7. Number 15, if I were you, the first thing I would do is draw a triangle, CDE. I know that it's an isosceles triangle and that D and E are congruent, which means these two legs are congruent. So if CD is 4x plus 9 and DE is 7x minus 5 and C is 16x minus 25, I'm just going to set these two equal to each other because those are the two that are legs. And then I'm going to solve, so I'm going to get my numbers together, my x's together, divide both sides by 12, x equals 3, and then I'm going to plug these back into those expressions, and I get 21, 16, and 21. Okay, so So same thing. Both of these do not have pictures. So the first thing I'm going to do, and if you want to try it, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to draw 2 pictures for both of these. I mean, 1 picture for each one. Okay, so here's what the picture should look like. For number 16, I'm just going to take 2 of them and set them equal to each other. So I'm going to do 2x plus 17, and I'm going to set it equal to 4x minus 1. I'm going to get my numbers on one side, my letters on the other. I'm going to divide by 2. I get an x equals 9. Then I would use 9 to plug back in. And this is how I check my math. I have to have 3 sides equal to each other because it's equilateral. That's how I know I did that one correct. So the next one, I don't know what I'm writing right here, sorry. I'm going to take the 2 legs and I'm going to set those equal to each other. I'm going to get my numbers on one side, my letters on another side, divide both sides by 5, x equals 6. And then I'm going to plug those numbers back in. And then the very last thing I'm going to do is make sure that those 3 angles actually equal 180. They do. I probably did them correct. Alright, the next thing we talked about were congruent triangles. So we're going to write 3 valid congruency statements. So it really doesn't matter what you do. Just make sure that they correspond. So I could say triangle QPR is congruent to triangle TUS. Then I could say triangle PQR is congruent to triangle UTS. And then I could also say RPQ is congruent to triangle SUT. Alright, so number 19, I'm going to talk about the congruent parts. So KL corresponds with AM, AC corresponds with KP, PL corresponds with CM, angle P corresponds with angle C, angle K corresponds with angle A, and angle M corresponds with angle L. Alright, the number 20, I'm going to use corresponding parts to actually solve stuff. So, let's see. X, Y, and Ji are the same, so 16. WX and JH are the same, so 15. Angle W and angle H are the same, so that has to be 37. Angle Y and angle angle I can't read, are the same. We'll come back to that in just a minute. And that makes angle J and angle X the same, so 114. And then in order to find angle I just do 180 minus 114 minus 37. I get 29. Alright, so that's my congruent triangles. We talked about several ways to prove that triangles are congruent. Those were side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and then HL, and that's the one that only works for right triangles. Alright, so I'm going to determine if the triangles are congruent. The first pair, yes. So I see angle, side, angle happening there. The third pair, B, they're definitely sharing that third side, so yes, I could use side, side, side. For C, I can say that those are congruent, but that's not a theorem, so not congruent. I can't state that those are definitely congruent. And then the last one, that's a yes. I could use the HL theorem. Alright. And then we did proofs, which aren't that fun, but we did them. So I'm just going to let you try it. I'm going to pause the video and do it in some steps. So you go ahead and try as much as you can in 1, 2, 3. Okay, so we know this is a given, and we know that we are using the definition of midpoint, and we're going to use it once and twice. So I'm going to have definition of midpoint, and then I'm going to have it again. I just need to come up with this statement. Alright, so if Q is the midpoint of PT, then these two sides, PQ and QT, have to be congruent. And if Q is the midpoint of RS, these two sides have to be congruent. And then hopefully you notice that you have a pair of vertical angles. And those vertical angles are PQR and angle TQS. So when you label your picture, you can see which theorem you're using. You have a side, an angle in between, and a side, so that is your side angle side theorem. Alright, let's do one more. Oh, just kidding. Alright, so go back and watch those videos as many times as you need to. And just try your best on this test. Let me know if I can help.